All right, so picture this. We've all been there, right? You step into a hotel elevator, the door slides shut, that quiet little whoosh, and you look at that glowing panel of buttons. You're going to 12. Maybe the person next to you hits 14. And as the elevator starts to climb, for just a second, you pass right through a space that, well, officially doesn't even exist.
So, where does it go? The 13th floor. It's one of those things we just kind of accept, right? Just a weird hotel thing. But think about it. This little architectural trick, this sleight of hand, it literally creates a void, an official non-place inside a building. And what's really wild is what happens when people start to believe something has filled that void.
See, even though hotels will tell you there's nothing there, it's not on the blueprints, it's not on the elevator panel, the stories just won't die. You hear whispers from the staff, you find these weird posts on some deep corner of the internet, stories from travelers who swear they somehow ended up on one of these missing floors.
And this is the key thing you hear in all these accounts. It's never about some monster jumping out at you. It's not about some obvious ghost. It's this deep, creeping feeling that something is just off, Like the air is different. A feeling that you've accidentally stepped into a place that isn't quite plugged into the rest of the world.
So that's the big question, isn't it? If these floors don't exist, then where on earth did these people go? And to figure this out, we need to peel back the layers of ghost stories and look at something way more fundamental. These ancient human fears that have literally changed the way we build our cities.
So where do we start? Well, our first clue isn't in some dusty paranormal file. It's way, way back in ancient history. Believe it or not, the reason we erase entire floors from our buildings all comes down to a fear that's been with us for thousands of years.
And just so we're on the same page, this isn't some rare, quirky thing. This is huge. I mean, Otis Elevators, they're the biggest elevator company in the world. They say a whopping 85% of the buildings with their elevators just don't have a 13th floor button. That is tens of thousands of buildings all over the globe that have just deleted this number.
This fear actually has a name, Triskaidekaphobia, and its roots go deep. I mean, really deep. In Norse mythology, you have Loki showing up as the 13th guest at a dinner party, and everything goes wrong. In the Bible, Judas is the 13th person at the Last Supper. And then, pop culture got a hold of it, and boom, it completely cemented this fear in our modern minds.
But here's where it gets even cooler. This whole thing, it's not just about the number 13 in the West. This habit of editing our buildings, of skipping numbers, it's a totally global thing. You find it all over the world, with different cultures avoiding their own unlucky numbers. Just look at this. In a lot of East Asian countries, you won't find a fourth floor because the word for four sounds almost exactly like the word for death. Not great for business. In Japan, the number 9 is a no-go because it sounds like suffering. And get this, in Italy, they're wary of the number 17. Why? Because in Roman numerals, XVII, you can rearrange those letters to spell vixi, which is Latin for I have lived, as in past tense.
Yeah.
Spooky.
So, okay, the origin is all this cool superstition and history, but the real reason hotels do this today, it's way less mystical. It's just simple business. Think about it. If even a few people feel weird about staying on the 13th floor and decide not to book a room, that's lost revenue. It's just so much easier and cheaper to call it the 14th floor and keep everyone happy.
Okay, but here's the twist. This really simple, practical business decision, it has this totally unintended consequence. By renaming a floor, by pretending it doesn't exist, you accidentally create this blank space, a vacuum. And what does nature and human imagination do with a vacuum? It fills it. And the official denial that the floor even exists, that just gives the stories more power.
Let me tell you about this one account from a businessman staying in Chicago. He says he woke up around 3 a.m. and it was just dead silent. His cell phone had no service, the hotel phone, dead. So he steps out into the hallway and it's wrong. He doesn't recognize it and the elevators just won't come. It was only later, when he was finally back in his real room, that he realized the room number on his old keycard didn't exist anywhere in the hotel.
And his story is like a perfect blueprint for the missing floor legend. It's got all the classic elements, right? Technology mysteriously failing, the space itself feeling weird and stretched out, that creepy, unnatural silence. And the final nail in the coffin? When you ask the staff about it, they look at you like you're crazy and deny the whole thing.
And this is where the mystery gets even deeper, because sometimes it's not just about a renumbered floor. In some really old hotels, especially ones built back when money was tight, a floor might not have been finished at all. The funding ran out, so they just sealed it off. A whole floor, just a concrete shell sitting there in the dark, completely forgotten between two perfectly normal occupied floors.
All right, so it's time to pull back the curtain. We've got the ancient superstitions. We've got the spooky urban legends. But what is actually going on? What's the reality behind the wall of that missing floor?
The truth is, it's usually one of three pretty simple things. First, and this is like 99% of the time, it's just renumbered. The 13th floor is there, it's just got a 14 painted on the wall. Second, it might be a utility floor. You know, the place they keep all the laundry cards, the extra linens, maybe some machinery, stuff guests aren't meant to see. And finally, in those super rare cases, it actually is a sealed-off, unfinished space.
So here's the bottom line. The 13th floor is real. It's there. It's made of the same concrete and steel as every other floor. It's just not for you. Think of it like the backstage area at a concert. The show is for the audience, but there's a whole other world happening behind the curtain that you're just not supposed to see.
But even knowing all that, the mystery doesn't really go away, does it? It's almost disappointing to hear the logical reason. And that leads to a much more interesting question. It's not what's really there, but why are we so obsessed with these stories? Why do we kind of need to believe that something strange is going on?
Well, the answer is all in our heads. See, we all have this mental blueprint of how the world is supposed to work. Psychologists call it a cognitive map. And numbers are supposed to go in order. 1, 2, 3, 11, 12, 13, 14. So when an elevator panel just jumps from 12 to 14, it creates this tiny little glitch, a bug in the system. And on a deep subconscious level, our brain goes, wait a minute, that's not right.
And there's actually a fantastic word for this feeling. It's called a liminal space. It's a threshold, a place that's neither here nor there. Think about a doorway or an empty waiting room at midnight. The missing floor is a perfect liminal space. It's not floor 12, it's not floor 14, it's the in-between. And these in-between places have always freaked us out a little bit.
And that's what makes it so powerful. That liminal space, that blank spot on the hotel map, it becomes a blank canvas, a screen where we can project all of our deepest anxieties, our fear of the dark, of the unknown, our distrust of big companies or governments hiding things from us, and maybe the biggest one of all, that terrifying idea of losing control, of waking up somewhere you're not supposed to be. So, in the end, the paradox of the missing hotel floor isn't really about hotels or floors at all. It's about us, the stories we tell to fill that gap, the ghosts we imagine in those hallways. They're a map of our own fears. They tell us way more about human psychology than they ever will about architecture.
So the next time you're in an elevator and you see those numbers jump, 12, 14, don't just think of it as a missing floor. Think of it as a mirror. It reflects our fascination and our fear of the unknown. The real question was never, what's behind the wall? The real question is, when you stare into that gap, what do you see staring back?